Here is the deal. Right now, everybody and their mother is losing their fucking shit over the lock-on system in Armored Core 6. As we are speaking, friendships are being broken, marriages are turning into divorces, and From Software doesn't even care. And you know why? Because they're still going to make a lot of money anyway. Some love it, some hate it. But why? What exactly is wrong with this lock-on system of Armored Core 6? Let's find out. Well, it's pretty simple. This hard lock-on takes away from the potential skill ceiling of Armored Core, meaning it's going to be easier to master and play the game. In simple terms, it casualises the game and will require less effort from the player base. But why? Because it takes away from one of the core mechanics of any projectile-based game, aiming. Aiming and movement are really what differs a good player from a bad player in most FPS or projectile-based game. Aiming because you basically have to aim at your target and hit them, right? And movement, it's basically your ability to move around the map, move during a gunfight, get into cover, getting out of cover, pre-shotting where your opponent is going to be. Like those are like really the core fundamentals of projectile-based game. As we are seeing, movement is definitely going to be a key element to master in Armored Core 6, with boosting up, down, left and right, as well as managing the 180 quick turn. Although that last part might be or might not be done automatically while you have the hard lock-on system activated, but more on that later. But still, movement is definitely going to be on the menu. However, it is a completely different story in what concerns aiming. The truth is that Armored Core never had a hard lock-on system as strong as the one we're seeing today. If we are taking the recent entries in the series as examples, in Armored Core 5 you have to aim manually at your opponent for a short time to then have a quote-unquote lock-on system which will direct your projectile automatically towards your opponent. But you still have to keep your opponent on your screen, and if at some point you fail to keep track of your opponent while manually moving the camera, you will break the lock. And in Armored Core for answer, you had a quote-unquote hard lock-on system, but I will let the fantastic above average gaming explaining that part.
I enabled this feature and went into an AC test to show you its flexibility or lack thereof. As you can see, my targets are moving extremely slow, and any advanced maneuvering like flying over them or strafing to the side will instantly break the lock. It's safe to assume, based on Vaddy's experience watching the closed showcase and the fact there are 4 firing buttons yet the controls are being made simpler, that hard lock in Armored Core 6 will never break and your AC will most likely quick turn automatically to stay on target.
So yeah, nothing as strong as what we're seeing today in Armored Core 6 has ever been seen during the recent years in the franchise. And yes, of course these features has been added to make the game more accessible. You see, we have millions of players who have played Elden Ring, and amongst other things, they fell in love with the brain dead spell casting system, which, let's be honest and look ourselves in the mirror, requires no skill at all and was implemented to make us feel better about our lives. I mean, at the end of the day, a game is a product made to keep you addicted while manipulating your dopamine secretion. You see, in Elden Ring, the projectile system requires little to no effort because it takes away from one of the fundamental skills of the game, which is spacing and timing. Spacing meaning your ability to manage your distance with your opponent accurately and precisely, and timing meaning making the right decision at the right time to whether attack or dodge. With spell projectiles, all of this is gone. It's gone in the garbage, in the toilet. In PvE, you just stay away from the bosses and spam your way to victory. You're basically never in danger. And in PvP, it's basically the same stuff. You just stay away from your opponent and spam him with undodgeable spells like Star Shower. Projectiles in Elden Ring could have been a good addition, as it required some sort of aiming skills like we see in Armored Core 5, or if we had the freedom of movement in order to counter it in PvP. However, the movement in Elden Ring is just too slow to dodge efficiently some of the broken spells, especially if many of them are shot at you at the same time. And you're left with relying on Bloodhound Step, which also breaks the game in another way because it takes away the other key fundamentals of the game, which is timing. But that is a kind of worm that I won't even dive into today. However, There are still a lot of things that we don't know yet about the lock-on system in Armored Core 6, such as how close do you need to be in order to be locked on. In fact, maybe the hard lock-on system works only against medium to close-range targets, hence making it easier to manage close-range combat with the implementation of melee attack, which have definitely been stepped up a notch in these entries, in a very fast-paced game made to be played on a controller, which is a limited medium to have fast camera movement speed. I understand the need for a lock-on. I mean, personally, I always find a close range moment in previous entries quite silly and awkward, to be honest, because it seems almost impossible to keep track of your opponent at close range, even if you have a fast turning speed AC, like a lighter build. Like it just moves way too fast. And secondly, can you lose your lock on if your opponent gets out of your field of view or if your opponent gets behind cover? In the gameplay trailer, a question still lingers. Is it possible to break your lock-on? That question was actually answered in an interview where it was said that yes, you can break your lock-on, but it really doesn't seem like it in the trailer that we are being shown. Because there are two answers to this question: or the player demonstrating is a beast at quick turning, meaning doing a manual 180 degree with the press of a button to keep his opponent in his field of view, or is it that once you are locked on, your AC will automatically quick turn once your opponent is about to get out of your field of view? That's the question, only time will tell once we have our hands on the game. One could argue that the hard lock-on system in Armored Core 6 doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because we had the prototype version of it in Armored Core 4 Answer anyway, so it is a natural evolution of the system, and with how slow you can move your camera around, whether it was on Armored Core 4 Answer or Armored Core Day, compared to an FPS where aiming really matters, it really didn't require much aiming skills at all from the players in the first place. If no lock is an excuse to make player play better by having to aim, then why even bother with a ridiculously easy soft lock-on system that activates almost as soon as you see your opponent? Although not a strong argument, I admit, because even if aiming wasn't the key factor to shoot your opponent, aiming your camera to keep your opponent in your field of view while moving around the map was the core skill. And this requires a lot of effort from players just by the hand dexterity alone. I mean, there is this silly meme with someone holding his control like backward. I don't know if it's like actually accurate, but I at least need to learn how to claw, right? Because all of your back button are going to be used to shoot your weapons. So of course you're going to need your thumb to press, you know, all the other button on your left side of the controller. But if you learn claw, you can get around having this system. So yeah, it basically requires a lot more effort. So yeah, there you have it. This is basically why some people are mad. I'm trying my best to explain it to you guys, but what do you guys think about this hard lock-on drama? Are you happy about it, about the new lock-on, or are you angry because all the filthy casual will then be able to compete against you even though they do not deserve it? Let me know in the comment section below. I answer to every comment, it is true. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and comment. I love you guys. It was Valentin and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.